So I realized that this might be a little bit of a weird comparison. One of these boots comes from the DTC brand world where it's all about being a disruptor and, breaking the mold and being something different from the old guard. And the other one is very much the old guard, the very heavy heritage, work-inspired kind of boot. But I do think that there are actually a fair amount of similarities between the two of these, and that's why, despite them being so different from each other, yet kind of the same, these two wound up being my favorite pairs of boots. It's what got me into boots, really. And we'll dive into that here. So let's start with the Thursdays. The Thursdays are my first quote-unquote nice boots. I had boots before this, just some random no-name brand that you get from like a DSW or something. And after not a long time at all, they started falling apart and, not good. Time for them to go. Me, being a good podcast listener, I noticed that there was an ad for Thursdays a lot, and whatever I was listening to. So I finally decided to give them a go. And about 5 years ago, I picked up these. These are the Thursday Presidents in the rugged and resilient leather. And, it's been 5 years. So how are they holding up? Honestly, they've been great. I'm not going to be able to cut these open or anything like that. There's plenty of videos on YouTube if you want to see what's inside of these boots and exactly how they were made. But I've been really happy with them, for being the brand that I just heard about through a podcast and not knowing a whole lot about boots at the time. They've held up great. They've taken everything I've thrown at them, everything I've kicked, and more importantly, it doesn't feel like I'm wearing insoles that are made out of graham crackers, which, is pretty high praise considering some of the other DTC podcasty YouTube ad brands that I unfortunately took the time to spend my money on. And this reason here is actually why I don't think it's crazy to compare Thursdays to the Red Wings, right? Of course, they're a very, very different style of boot. The Thursdays, I'd say, are a little bit more dressy, a little bit more, soft. I'm a soft boy. It's fine. Where the Red Wings, these are the Moc Toe 1907s. These are heavy boots. There's a lot more going on here. I think what says a lot about these boots is that I recently did a home inspection, and the inspector said that these are great boots for this kind of job, whereas the compliments I got from my Thursdays usually come from my desk job. But when you start looking at how they're made and the construction and all those sorts of things, I think that's where these similarities really start to come into play. Both of these boots take pride in being made by real people rather than machines. The Thursdays are made in Mexico and the Red Wings are made in the USA. And again, while there's definitely a noticeable difference between the leather quality, the Red Wings being thicker and heavier, I don't think that's something the normal buyer would really notice. There are definitely little things worth the price point, or at least justify this. I bought these Red Wings in a physical store, and it was one of the most fun experience I ever had buying shoes. The dude brought me into this crazy scanning thing where I got 3D scans of my feet, which, that's cool. He did say that I walked kind of funny and put too much pressure on my big toe, which now has made me very self-conscious about how I walk, but I have a cool 3D scan of my foot and my pressure pattern, so that's, trade-offs. And at the end of the day, having a store, and a lot of stores from what I can tell, it really contributes to why I think these Red Wings also cost more, right? You obviously have the labor that's paid in American dollars, and you would hope at least that there are higher standards to justify those costs. And then they also have to think about the overhead of having multiple stores that do 3D fittings that, don't always convert into sales. So there's a lot there to keep the price of the Red Wings a lot higher. Those things are just things that Thursday doesn't really need to think about. They just ship directly to your door. You buy them from their website. There's no one who's going to take a fitting of your foot or anything like that. But I don't think that's a problem, right? You could look at a brand like Knicks or White's, where a lot of people, they can't go in and get their boot fit, but these are still $600 boots that you're going to get custom made, and you're going to measure with, I don't know, a printer and tape. Hope for the best. And that brings me to value, which I'm not going to get too deep into, right? This isn't a buyer's guide. I'm not going to be telling you that you should go and buy the Thursday Presidents over the Red Wing Moc Toes. That just doesn't really make a lot of sense. The Thursdays were like half the cost of what I paid for the Red Wings. But in terms of value and in terms of wear, I think they both have great places in someone's collection. You think about cost per wear. They're gonna be in the pennies, right? It's, again, been 5 years with my Thursdays. They've held up well. They look great. They're still super versatile. The Red Wings, you can hop onto Reddit and you'll see plenty of people who've talked about how they've had their pair of Red Wings for decades. They've gotten them resold, refinished. All of this stuff gets done to them, but then they're the same boots. Well, maybe not the same boots, because that kind of gets into the ship of Theseus thing, where it's like, are these really my boots if they're the different soles? But, whatever. What I'm trying to say is that if you think about the lifespan of either of these boots, both being Goodyear welted, I think being resolable and being something that you can really put a lot of time, a lot of effort into if you want to. Again, I didn't know you were supposed to condition leather, so these just hung out with 5 years worth of dirt on them until a few months ago, and whoopsies. I think these two will net out to be pretty even over the long run. And the thing with leather and heritage kind of apparel is that this is stuff that's going to last you a really long time, something that you can wear long into the future. People get super into patina for that same reason, right? This is going to be yours, and I think that's awesome. So 2 very different kind of boots, yes, but 2 that I think are worth having in your collection, if you will. I know they're going to spend a lot of time in mine.